Sonic Boom Episode 11, Sleeping Giant. We see Sonic running ahead of Knuckles while Knuckles is flying around with a parachute behind him, and eventually Knuckles gets smacked into walls and ends up on the ground with them. Out of nowhere, they get threatened by a giant sand golem monster with glowing eyes. At least they're using some things from Rise of Lyric, otherwise there'd be no point. It's a Sonic Boom continuity after all. It sends Tails away in his plane and attacks Knuckles, and it topples some lemon wagon in front of Sonic, and now some lemons fall into Facetious Beaver in a pile. It must just be attacking in a rage because it doesn't proceed to eat the lemons or try to sell them. Tails' plane crashes and he says that it's still covered by the manufacturer's warranty, but he's the manufacturer and didn't give himself a receipt. That joke was forced. He wouldn't say it was still covered by the manufacturer's warranty then. He wouldn't forget that he didn't give himself a warranty. And if he's a smart and nice person, of course he would give himself a receipt and warranty. Why wouldn't he? Then Amy reveals that the sand golem wasn't made by Eggman. Go figure, considering its aesthetic, but was actually made by the Ancients. So Eggman wants to capture and use it as his minion. So why did the golem take so long to get activated and start bothering the heroes? And why does Eggman think he can take control of a golem that he didn't make? Then I wonder why the sand golem is just sitting in front of the heroes on a roof as Tails talks about some normal civilians' normal behavior. Why isn't it trying to kill them? It was just being enraged before. Did it change its mind? Then Sonic figures out that he's just trying to get comfortable and he can't sleep. And he says that it seems overtired, even though it's a sand golem. I guess it makes sense that he would have figured this out eventually because he would have spent so much time watching it rampage. But how could you ever get the impression that a sand golem would need sleep? But I guess because he woke it up, so it must have been sleeping? You can turn on a computer. That's like waking it up. Doesn't mean it's gonna get in a grumpy rage. Same goes for robots. Isn't kind of like a robot, which he's much more used to? I really hate the way I had to experience this episode. It was so obnoxious. Speaking of obnoxious, Amy's singing. How could she possibly think that her singing was good? That was forced. And why did Sonic tell her to keep singing as he ran off? Logically, just tell her to shut up immediately, like a Sonic who has a backbone. If Sonic's not snarky, who is he? Then he tells the golem to sleep, telling it to think of rock stuff. Why does it want to sleep so bad? What's it gonna do afterwards? Wouldn't it want to do stuff since it's awake? Wouldn't Eggman inevitably find and reprogram it to his side in its sleep? We're just gonna ignore that next episode? Really? I mean, this is very creative. More creative than him fighting it. But him fighting it would be an action scene, which Sonic is supposed to have to make an episode worth watching. So why is Eggman suddenly gone? Why did he just show up just to immediately leave? Why aren't they confused about how the golem just woke up, but it's never planning on doing anything when it's awake, so when is it planning on doing something? At that point, why doesn't it just self-destruct like the Sentinel? It doesn't have anything to do in the modern era. It apparently just wants to sleep. Huh? The heroes worry because Styx got kidnapped by the golem for no apparent reason. And for some reason she was cheerful at first when she has trust issues, to say the least. Only for it to start climbing a mountain while holding her. Why is the sand golem able to get attracted to Styx like it's King Kong? I mean, why would it be able to feel attraction? That's not advantageous to the programmers. And why would Knuckles think Styx was small enough to be under a flower pot? Why would Tails be able to make something as broad as a disasterometer? And Styx sings terribly, torturing the audience. And it turns out the golem wanted her to do it, since she says that she can't sing forever, as it naturally ruined her voice. At least they thought that. I don't know what the writers were on keeping this up. Because the disasterometer hears her singing from all the way in Tails' house somehow, Amy and Knuckles fly over to Styx in parachutes or whatever, and easily pick her up and carry her away from the fist of the rock monster. Why wouldn't it try to stop them? That makes no sense. It sure was friendly. Then the golem crushes Eggman's Eggman-shaped topiary, and it was amusing when Eggman says that he thought "don't stomp on the topiary" also implied don't drop a gazebo on it. So why does the golem want to bother Eggman? It doesn't know him. Why did Noda go here? This episode sucks. Why is it able to get lulled to sleep by Six's terrible singing? You'd have to be an idiot to say that bad writing is perfectly fine and is not worth complaining about just because it's a comedy. Let alone for kids. Most Sonic fans these days are adults. It would be terrible marketing to only make it for kids. This episode was obnoxious. What were they thinking making us listen to terrible singing? At least in Sonic Underground, it's really easy to know how to skip it. At least I can say that it's showing Amy as flawed, since normally when she's shown to have a hobby, she's great at it. And she's great at too many hobbies at once, so this tries to balance that out. But it wasn't worth it. It ruined the entire episode having her sing. That and the fact that it was boring and uneventful because there was no real attempt at an exciting action scene, because the golem just wanted to sleep, and was grumpy. They really wanted to keep things mysterious by not fully explaining this thing. Logically, who would want to make this thing? What was it for? Was it a bodyguard? A soldier in war? That's what I want to know. At least it was creative that it wasn't just a generic one-dimensional bad guy, but it was acting like that at first when it threw a lemon stand because it had no reason to do something obviously evil that wouldn't benefit it. This whole premise is confusing. Why would anyone make a golem able to get sleepy in the first place? Let alone sleep for whoever knows how long it did. That's like a robot needing to sleep like a normal person. Well, I guess it requires rest for the purpose of recharging its batteries. Maybe it recharges them with solar power and that's why it's grumpy, but it just woke up. Wouldn't it be fully recharged? Guess not. I guess the golems are supposed to sleep for a really long time, even longer than this golem did, to fully charge up their power, until they're able to fulfill their program purpose, which is what? Destroying the world? Invading? Well, why not do it right away? This thing makes no sense. It's inexcusable that we aren't told what exactly happened to it after the episode ended. We really needed to learn that. It wouldn't just go away. Eggman was golfing where it was. He'd want revenge against it for bothering him, not be a meek little wuss and put up with it destroying a topiary of himself. I guess they thought it'd be too dark to show us Eggman destroying it. Which he must have done, because otherwise we would have seen it again. It's weird that it only just now got activated after who knows how long, but I guess it makes sense since this is a pretty empty and wide canyon. So maybe it makes sense that no one was there to bother it for so many years. Somehow no archaeologist knew to start excavating near it. It makes no sense that Eggman wouldn't go on to reprogram it to work for him, and that it'd ever find obnoxious singing a good lullaby, and that the obnoxious singers wouldn't realize they sucked at it and immediately stop since they have ears. This episode was annoying, though the way I had to experience it didn't help, with a stupid jump cuts for no reason taking me out of it with reaction shots from someone I didn't care about. I couldn't exactly watch it on YouTube with terrible sound quality. Thank Dailymotion for my reviews of the show, because I'd never have a safe way to watch all the episodes without it. Episode 11-2, The Curse of Buddy Buddy Temple. We start out with a tree falling from Eggman's laser as he's trying to shoot at the heroes with his Eggmobile. Sonic jumps towards a tree that flings some birds at him from a nest. At least that was interesting. But wait, he's supposed to be a nature lover and he's flinging birds? Wouldn't they get injured? Good thing there's exciting music playing bombastically, or this would be really boring and run-of-the-mill. Sonic and Eggman go into a temple, which has some walls automatically hit the floors behind them. They argue over where they should go next, and the floor breaks beneath them. Sonic twists his ankle, but Eggman's laser somehow misses even now and is pathetic. It's not like we saw Sonic damage his Eggmobile, and Sonic can't spin dash at him either. I hope the episode remembers he has a twisted ankle all episode. Otherwise, it'd be pointless to have him get injured to show that the heroes can get hurt, that the tension isn't completely artificial. Orbot and Cubot celebrate being free from Eggman, with Orbot wanting to finish off his memoirs, and Cubot wanting to have some fun, throwing a party, I guess. This is why these are great characters. They care more about making them sympathetic and relatable than making them annoying, like Scratch and Grounder. The heroes all argue over who should be in charge, with Styx saying that she doesn't trust anyone in charge. It's very predictable that the Eggmobile won't be able to just fly off and leave Sonic here. Sonic reluctantly offers to pull the Eggmobile along while having a harness around him, and he tells him not to tell anyone about this out-of-character thing he's doing, before running in a circle constantly. this causes a circular thing to fall through the floor and bring them with them. And somehow Eggman got a photo of the moment they fell through the floor from an impossible angle. Cubot and Orbot return to the heroes because they're scared and overwhelmed by all the different choices they could take with freedom. Translation, if Eggman died, they'd be with the heroes because they wouldn't know where else to go. So that's good. Then Eggman's tablet tells him that in this temple, people who leave it come out as buddies, and they have to follow the example of the buddy beavers on the walls. Except they won't stop fighting after this episode, so it's just stupid superstition. Eggman keeps pulling levers to bring blocks out of the wall so Sonic can jump on them instead of into the lava. They succeed, and Eggman mourns the fact that a small fire dies out, reminding us that he's supposed to be evil. The heroes refuse to put Tails in charge, even though he's a genius. And Sonic prevents Eggman from getting hit by arrows shot at him. Eggman says his ankle's twisted, but the episode forgot that Sonic had a twisted ankle too, so it won't remember this either. What's the episode's fascination with having the characters hurt their ankles just to forget about it? Eggman uncharacteristically apologizes for antagonizing him earlier. And after they evade some spiked wall, Eggman traps Sonic behind a wall and brags about the fact that he tricked him by lying that he was injured. This is realistic behavior from Eggman for once. Eggman realizes that he can't open the next door without Sonic, since there needs to be two people pulling the levers. Shouldn't he have figured this would happen? So he goes back to rescue Sonic, pressing a button on the wall. I guess Sonic's spin dash at the speed of sound isn't fast enough to just spin dash his way out of the trap himself. Some rocks fall from the ceiling. Sonic's friends still look incompetent by arguing instead of immediately going to rescue Sonic like in literally any other continuity. And then they get reunited with him because the floor breaks beneath them. They find an old minecart, and Orbot's scared of taking it because they don't know where it goes. So they ride it until they escape the temple, and Orbot and Cubot hug Eggman's legs, saying they missed them. I'm surprised that Amy says she can't believe she squabbled with Knuckles, and somehow Amy of all people knows what the word obstinate means. It means stubborn. I can tell because it reminds me of the French translation of stubborn. The point is, since when does Amy have a pretentious vocabulary? And the story ends with Sonic and Eggman still not being friends, which is good because Eggman wants to take over the world and would never stop doing that. Although it'd be nice if some other villain was trying to take over the world constantly for once. Realistically, why does he stay on this island instead of flying an aircraft to a United Nations meeting to try to take over the world that way after finding out when it'll happen? From like the internet or something. How could there be fully functional free will robots in a world where internet hasn't been invented yet? This was an interesting episode about Eggman and Sonic working together to solve the traps of a temple they fell into. While Sonic's friends look totally incompetent because they spend the whole time arguing because they can't decide who would be in charge without Sonic. That's the problem with a group of friends who have no respect for each other. If this was Archie, this wouldn't have happened because Sally would be there and would immediately come up with a plan to save Sonic that everyone would follow because they respect her leadership. She'd tell Tails to get a hovercraft down to the temple to save Sonic. Like one of the UFOs they had in later Archie. He couldn't do that with a biplane because it needs to move ahead for a while before it could start flying, and the hole's not big enough for it to get in. And that wouldn't guarantee the plot would be over quickly because Tails would take a while getting to his hovercraft and back. I like that the realistic thing happened where Eggman tried to get Sonic killed instead. And I hate that the show forgot Sonic had a twisted ankle. I naturally assumed, because I think in logic, that Sonic's ankle would stay that way and Eggman would have to carry him for the whole episode. Or he'd have to spin dash the whole way. But since he wouldn't be able to help him and escape the temple if he was carrying him, they shouldn't have had Sonic say he hurt his ankle then. How did hurting his ankle make a spin dash at the Eggmobile lane? So what I really hate is that he said he was hurt when the show couldn't actually follow through with that idea. But I love that the emphasis was on action the whole episode instead of boring dialogue. It was about excitement and an interesting setting. I just wish we didn't keep having our time wasted with cuts to Sonic's friends arguing. If that was all they were going to do, they shouldn't have been padding out the episode. It was interesting how Orbot and Cubot acted without Eggman, but I have to wonder how Eggman did program them to never want to abandon him. To never even think that they wanted to do that. That's common sense. Also, what was the point of that temple? Sonic and Eggman didn't literally become friends like I said they would, because if they did, Eggman would stop trying to murder him. And then the show would have to change the status quo, and it's too scared to do that. So the makers of the temple were delusional, and all their traps were waste of time. Realistically, someone should go in there and dismantle all of the traps in the temple for the sake of preventing any potential deaths and injuries from it. What value do these traps have? Who cares about preserving history at that point? Tails should go back to that temple and dismantle the spiked walls to salvage the metal from them for free. He doesn't have to make the inside of the temple safe, because who would willingly go there? Well, maybe archaeologists would, so maybe he should. But he does have the moral duty to make sure it's impossible to get into that temple by accident, at least. Like, make it so that there's a hard metal floor instead of a soft one people can arbitrarily fall through. Because imagine if some random civilian fell into this place, alone, which realistically would be more likely to happen. How many people mysteriously disappeared because they went out jogging in the woods and died to the temple? So I'm gonna assume that Tails had this all taken care of afterwards, off screen. Just blow up the bomb. What else does he have to do? I just wish that I saw that for a proper, realistic resolution to the story, instead of the plot thread being ignored for a snapback. The writers can't expect their audience not to get invested in the story. We could have had room for a proper resolution if they cut out all the unfunny scenes of Amy arguing with Knuckles, where Knuckles' portrayal was god-awful, and replaced it with Tails flying down to the temple and using his tools to dismantle all the traps, and bringing the metal out of there. That's what I'd do if I was him. I wouldn't just leave a death trap temple like that on the island. Aren't they supposed to be heroes? I couldn't relate to them if they just walked away and forgot about the place. That's irresponsible. It's like caring more about arguing than rescuing Sonic. Does Amy care about him or not? It'd be alright if they explained that they have faith in Sonic to reunite with them on his own, and they don't know he's in danger for sure, so they naturally don't feel pressure to mount a rescue mission right away.